Hi, all. It's Sunday afternoon. I'm in my pajamas. I just washed my hair, took off all my makeup, and I'm in my cozy bed. And I'm going to read to you a little bit from The Power of Un. When we left off last time, we had found out about our main character, Gib, and his dislike for another character in the book, Rainy. And they had gotten into a whisper shouting match about their science experiment in their science class. We also know that they're in middle school, so they're a little bit older than you are. And we know that there's something about a spitball incident that Gib thinks maybe starts the whole story of what eventually happens. So I'm going to go to where we left off. We have math with Ms. Shripnell every afternoon at 2 o'clock. I wish we had it in the morning because you have to concentrate in order to do math. By 2 o'clock, everybody, including old Shrapnel, that's what they call her, is tired and wants to be someplace else. On Friday afternoons, it's the worst. The classroom was a little too warm because it was an Indian summer day and the sun was pouring through the windows. Ash and I pretended we were working on decimals, but to keep each other awake, we passed notes back and forth, making plans for the carnival that night. To pause for a second because my kids were yelling. I opened my binder to get a fresh piece of paper, and a forgotten soda straw fell out. I like to keep straws around. They're good for so many different things. Stick them in a glass of water and make volcano sound effects. Blow bubbles with the hand soap from the bathroom dispensers. Scare flies. The possibilities are endless. But what I love most about them is that anytime you need a little excitement, you can shoot things out of them, like spitballs. Ash hid a grin behind his hand as he watched me take a fat, juicy wad of paper and load it into the straw. Think about that. I had no idea that seated in the desk on my right, Rainey Frogner was doing the exact same thing, with me as her target. Think about what you know about Rainey. Does that seem like her personality? Spitballs aren't something Rainey generally does. She hardly ever gets in trouble, but now she was risking it for the second time that day. She must have been pretty mad at me. I waited till Ms. Shripnell turned around to write something on the board. Then I took careful aim, blew out that big, wet glob with all the force in my lungs, and hid the straw as fast as I could. My plan was to hit her in the back. It would stick there, all the kids would laugh, and she'd have no idea why. It wasn't the most admirable thing I've ever done. It definitely wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done either. Believe me, I spent a lot of time regretting it later. In the course of a split second, 2 unexpected things happened. First, I felt something cold and wet hit my cheek with a lot of force. It was Rainey's spitball, and it stung. Then mine hit old Shrapnel. Unfortunately, she just turned around at the worst possible instant, and it hit her directly in the forehead. Ugh! The whole class gasped as if it were a single organism. Before any of us could take another breath, Miss Shripnell's face went through a series of contortions, beginning with surprise and ending with fury. Who did that? She demanded, casting her gaze around the room like a laser beam. To my considerable surprise, the laser came to rest not on me, but on Rainey, who was still holding the straw she'd shot me with. It took such a short time I doubt anybody in the room had a clear idea what had happened, except Rainey and me and maybe Ash. "Lorraine Frogner," said old Shrapnel in a tone that would have made even the principal shiver. But I didn't do it. Gib did it." Rainey waved her straw in the air while she made this claim. "Lorraine, it is bad enough to do such a thing in the first place, but to deny it under these circumstances is far worse." I could have stopped the whole scene at that point just by standing up and admitting I was the one who shot the offending spitball. It would have been the right thing to do. But I was angry. I'd spent a chunk of the morning on my hands and knees under a lab table, and I could still feel the cold sting of Rainy's spitball on my cheek. So I squinted at her and sat still. I let her take the blame for what I'd done, thereby sealing my fate. I'm going to stop there, but the question I ask you today is, what would you have done if you were Gib? Would you have sat there like he did and let Rainy take the blame? Or would you have done something different?